Okay, we're live again. Welcome everyone to the Azure and AI Show. With me this evening is Joseph MCT and MVP, and we also have Amy Diamond, and Amy is also an MVP and SharePoint wizard. Joseph is going to do some stuff on the MS 900, and Amy is going to do some stuff, showing us some updates on SharePoint with Copilot Studio. And if we have time after that, I'm going to show you some stuff with the Microsoft AI agents with Copilot Studio. So, Joseph, do you want to share your screen with us?
Okay, so I'm going to do that now. Thank you, Frank. Frank, I guess my screen is up now.
Yeah, I can see your screen there now. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so I'll just start my presentation from the beginning. So good evening to everyone in my time zone. For those in different time zone, good afternoon or good morning to you, depending on your time. So happy today. I see that a lot of persons are preparing for MS 900 exam because of the CloudFest voucher that is available. And apart from just the exam, I'm also aware that people who want to come into the cloud technology space sometimes need to go back, need to understand the fundamentals of cloud computing. And that's the essence of this presentation today. It's on MS 900 track. It's more about describing the concepts behind cloud computing and just to know how everything works, right? Just so you can relate to it as someone who wants to transition into cloud computing, or as someone who is new to tech entirely and trying to come in and has always heard people say cloud computing without knowing exactly what they are talking about. So that's the essence of today's conversation. For those who are well experienced, it may sound very elementary, right? But trust me, there are people who want to learn as elementary or as basic as what we are going to be talking about today. So mainly we're just going to be doing stuffs around the first module, right? Just the module one alone. And that's going to cover the cloud computing concepts as a form of description, right? And then we'll also be describing the benefits of using cloud services. And then we will go on to describe cloud service types, right? And we can talk about deployment models as well. Now, the first thing we're going to be discussing is about description of cloud computing, because there is a meme out there that says there is no cloud anywhere, but it is just someone's computer sitting somewhere, right? And that is a logical and correct description. But really, what is cloud computing? Let us see what it is in the subsequent slides. So in the module one today, we are going to be talking about, so I will expect that at the end of my presentation here today, we should be able to define cloud computing conveniently and correctly, putting the right terms in place. We should be able to describe what is called the shared responsibility model, even though this is going to be covered in the module two in detail, right? And then we're going to define cloud models, including public. You hear things around private or hybrid cloud. And then we need to identify the appropriate use cases for each of the public, private, and the hybrid cloud. And then we will also be talking about the consumption-based model. So if you hear a word like consumption-based model, you should know what we are talking about. Or if you come across that either in your exam or in interviews or in interaction with professionals, you should understand what consumption-based model means. And then we are going to be comparing the cost of running your own on-premises infrastructure as against running that in the cloud, right? In terms of costs. So now let's go into the real deal of today, and it's about cloud computing. So what is cloud computing in itself? I'm just going to pick up my pen here so that we can itemize or highlight the basic or the more important terms that you need to pick that would help you define cloud computing like a pro, even if you're a beginner, right? So cloud computing is the delivery of computing services. Here, you need to take care of it. Computing services over the internet. So that's what cloud computing is. So what does it really mean, right? So traditionally, you would have in your on premises, you would have computer that would have CPUs that have all the RAMs there running and things running around the compute activities. And then if you have more than one computer, if they must interact with themselves to share resources, then they must find a way to be connected either over the wire, which is mostly the LAN, or the wireless, which is like the Wi-Fi arrangement, right? And then also, if you need to put up files in any of the computers, then you should have a storage for a computer. Now, if all of these, in terms of the compute, the networking around computing, and then the storage are now lifted to somewhere off site, right? So that whenever you want to access these services, these computing services, you use the internet to access them, then that is what is called cloud computing. Take instances of you having a lot of people have Gmail accounts. I think in Africa, that's one of the popular accounts that people have. So when you create a Gmail account, you're automatically provisioned with a Google Drive, right? So Google Drive is where you can upload your resume, you can upload your pictures, you can upload your videos, and now you are somehow in one continent or one state within a country, and then you eventually travel to another continent or another state. So long you have a phone, so long you have a laptop, so long you have a tablet that has access to the internet, you can also access the documents or the videos or the photo you have inside of that drive, because it is accessed over the internet, right? And also you can have pictures uploaded to Facebook, uploaded to YouTube, I mean uploaded to different platforms, and on different devices you can still have access to it. But before you can have access to that file, you must have access to the internet. So now what it means is that cloud computing is you having that file or having that service, that networking services or that computing services remotely in what is called a data center, and you access that using the internet. That's what cloud computing is. So in real definition, we can say cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over the internet. And what are those computing services? Compute, the networking, and the storage over the internet. And this actually will enable you for faster implementation of your plans, right? In terms of innovation, you will not be struggling to see how you can run cables around your office or how you can run anything within the environment. All you just do is you leave the traditional dirty job and just go on to provision a service in the cloud, and you just pay for the service and utilize what you are using. And one very good thing about it is that it is flexible, right? So just in case you want it to, let's say for example, you are going for a 50 gig storage space, for example, and your workload grew, and then you needed like a 1 terabyte, right? You can just ask that it should be improved, I mean increased, and then you can be paying for it. And the flexibility around it is that just in case there is need for you to scale down again to maybe 70 gigabytes, let's say, you can ask the service provider to reduce your storage for you, and it is flexible enough for you to come back to whatever you want. So it is flexible. You are not going to destroy anything. So that said about the definition, I would normally want to skip this at this point because the substance that should explain this in detail we have not covered yet. But then the responsibility of you and the service provider based on the services you are offering is what is actually explained here. Talking about what Microsoft takes care of, talking about what you as a customer should be responsible for, I'm talking about the one that you shared with Microsoft. But like I said, I will usually want to take this after the second module, and therefore we are just going to move ahead. Now, there are types of cloud, or you say cloud deployment model. So if you hear the word types of cloud, or you hear types of cloud deployment model, we are talking about how you are accessing that cloud resources. And whenever I explain this, I would like to use a paint to explain it to people. And I'll just pull up my paint on the screen now. And I will use a bank as a scenario to explain this to the audience, right? So let's take, for instance, you have a bank, right? And this bank, so the way it does its things is that it has a data center, right? And then this bank now goes ahead and have branches around a country, right? One, two, let's say it has like four branches around the country. And then so what happens is that, so Mr. A, so this bank, let's just call this bank Azure, right? So that is the name of the bank. Don't bother about the existence of that bank. Let's assume that this is the name of the bank that you are trading with, right? Now, what happened is that you have Mr. A. So I'm going to use locations in Nigeria. So there's a location called Port Harcourt in Nigeria. The PH is in the south. And then there is a Lagos, let's say Abuja is in the north, ABJ, right? And then there was a Kano branch, a CAN, let's say CAN to Kano, and then there's probably Lagos here. Yeah, right. So this guy, when he was traveling, when he was in Port Harcourt, right, what he did was that he made a deposit of 50K, right? And then when he wanted to go to Kano, and then he traveled from PH to Abuja. And when he got to Abuja, he withdrew the sum of 10K, right? And then while still on the journey, he took a flight down to Kano, right? And when he got to Kano, he wanted to check his balance. And then when he checks his balance here, right, because he made a deposit here, he made a deposit here. Excuse me quickly. All right, so that's now likely moving for me, but he made a deposit here, and then he made a withdrawal here, right? Withdrawal here, and then he went to another branch, and then he's asking for his balance. His balance will be checked here, and it will be equal to 40K. To be equal to 40K because he has he has withdrawn 10K from here. Now, what's happening here? This environment is only accessible to the bank AB, I mean the bank Azure. This is where everything is happening. So if there's another bank or another enterprise outside of this environment, he's never going to see the transaction here. Now, really, what's happening here is that at this point, right, that this guy came to Port Harcourt to deposit money. The money was not kept in Port Harcourt. It was this used the network to communicate to the data center, to the server, right, to the data center here that there was a deposit, right? This is the data center of the bank, right? That spoke to the data center that there was a deposit from Mr. A while in Port Harcourt. And then when the guy got to Abuja to withdraw, the guy at the counter checked his balance and saw that he has 50K, so he could withdraw 10K. Now, how was he able to know that the guy had 50K? He also had to come to the data center over the network and ask the data center how much does this guy have, and then he gave him 10K out of his 50K. It was remaining 10K. So I mean it was remaining 40K. So when he came down to Kano on his trip, and then he was asking the cashier at Kano to give him his balance, so what happens is that the cashier in Kano also is going to put a call through to the data center to ask how much balance this guy has here, and then really this guy would get an accurate value. So what's happening here is that the data center is a center, right, that is holding the information about the guy's account balance, right? So whenever somebody asks for an amount or deposit an amount, the interaction is always between the bank branches and the data center. And what is unique about this is that another organization outside of these confines is not going to have access to this data center for anything. So they will have to build all the security needed by themselves to make sure that this is protected. They have to make sure that as much as possible, they also protect it against any form of natural disaster that can put this to a problem, right? So it's their responsibility for physical security, their responsibility for hardware maintenance, their responsibility for software patches and updates, right? So all is based on them. So if you have this kind of setup, that is called a private cloud. So instances where you have um, so you have the giants in the industry coming together to say, okay, this same service that this guy only has for himself, he has some limitations, right? So let us build our own. We'll build a system where different organizations can come to use, right? They can come subscribe for our services. We try to give them SLA to say that your data is secure with us. Excuse me, your data is secure with us. We manage the software, we manage all the updates, and bank Azure will come in, company ABC will come in, company XYZ will come in to use those services. They find a way to segregate and give grant access only to what each organization have by themselves. So at this point, you have multiple organizations accessing their services or their resources within the cloud space, hosted with a CSP, which is called the cloud service provider. So in that instance, that is what is called a public cloud. Public in the sense that you have different organizations having access to what a CSP provides for them on subscription basis, right? Now, but some organizations are there. Let's say, for example, the same bank would say that compliance requirements would require that they do not save account balances of users in a public cloud setup, right? Or, for instance, you have a healthcare sector that would say the policy is that you do not save patients' record on a public cloud. And this same organization still needs to have things around meetings in Teams and then receive emails via Outlook. So they need services around Exchange, and then let's say, for instance, also they need form of storing of some other files that are not patient-related files or patient record in the cloud. Therefore, they have a need for to maintain a small on-premises environment to segregate the data that are going to be by compliance requirements on premises, and then the ones that can be publicly available, they subscribe to a cloud service provider service and then use that as well as this. So anything that is making you to have a plus. So if you are having um, what's it called, private and hybrid. So if you are having an addition of these both here, what that means is that you are in hybrid situation. So we are saying that public plus private, this is public, right, is equal to hybrid infrastructure environment. So we'll just quickly move on now. Having explained this, it's going to make a lot of things simpler for us when we go along in the conversation. So this is a private cloud. So just like we mentioned, organizations create a cloud environment in their data center. Organizations are responsible for operating the services they provide. So it does not provide access to users outside of the organization. So it's just within that environment, like the bank branches that we mentioned. And this is what is really called a private cloud. So everything is tied to that organization. So instances where you have public cloud is this is owned by a cloud service provider. It can be called cloud hosting provider, the like of Microsoft Azure, the like of AWS, the like of Google Cloud Professionals, and all of that. These are public available services that people can subscribe to. So they provide resources and services to multiple organizations and users, and then access to these to these services from the customers is through a secure connection, typically over the internet, like we mentioned earlier. So now the hybrid cloud, like mentioned also, it's a combination, which is like this plus that you have here, right? A combination of the public and the private cloud. Apologies, my slide just closed. PowerPoint error. So let me see, it's loading up again. So I'll just go. So a combination of the public and private cloud is actually what gives rise to the hybrid cloud environment. So just hold on, please. I'm going to go back to that slide now. So from current slide. Okay. So combine public and private cloud to allow application to run on most appropriate location where you have to do like segmentation of the class of data that should be available on premises and then in the cloud. And this is mostly sometimes also used by organizations that were big on premises before the advent of the cloud. So instead of doing away with or before they start adopted the cloud, right? So instead of doing away with the physical infrastructure they have, they tend to maybe segment what they have and say, okay, this can move to the cloud, while this other can remain with us in our environment. Now, what's the difference, or what can we compare in terms of public, private, and hybrid cloud? In terms of public cloud, you do not have need for capital expenses to expenditure to scale up, right? So what it means is that if you used to have 50 gigabytes and you want to go to 100, you don't need to do away with anything. Just request that this should be increased for us, and they will just increase without you. Because for example, if you have an on-premises environment, right, and then you had 50 gigabyte, like we mentioned, of storage space, and then you need to scale up to maybe 500, right? What it means is that you either have to look for someone who is going to buy your 50, or you're going to keep it for future use, and then you are going for 500. So you don't have a way to just automatically scale up. But for the cloud, you can just request, say, for example, you are in Azure environments, you want to scale up any resource, you can do that. Especially when there is peak period, you can scale up, and then when that period is over, you can ask them to bring it down. So application can be quickly provisioned and deprovisioned. For example, if I want to run a VM just to run a test, I could run that VM for 1 hour. Maybe that VM is costing me 0.77 USD. What that means is that I could just, use the VM for 1 hour, and I'm paying less than $1, and I can do my labs and close down and then deprovision it. I'm just through with it, right? So provisioning and deprovisioning is way simple with the cloud. So organizations pay only for what they use, so you don't have to stress yourself about. So it's like a service where it is metered, right? So we'll see that in the subsequent slide. So, but for private cloud, right, hardware must be purchased for startup and then maintenance. So before you want to start up in a private cloud environment, then it means that you have to invest into the physical infrastructure, which is not same with the cloud. So organizations have complete control over resources, and then of course, while you have the complete resources about your control, I mean, around all your resources in private cloud, also note that you are responsible, fully responsible for the security, the physical security, and the logical security around your assets. Then organizations are responsible for hardware maintenance and updates, right? So you are the one to do the software and the hardware update, because everything is within your control. While in terms of hybrid, of course, you take the most flexible decision to know what goes and what stays, right? And then organization determine where to run their application. This app should run in the cloud, this one should run on premises. While organization controls security, the compliance, and the legal requirements, because that's really one of the reasons why people adopt hybrid cloud, to say, okay, my industry says you can't put medical records in a public internet, I mean, in the public cloud, or you cannot put bank account balances on the public cloud, or anything that has to do with social security number, don't put it, that kind of thing will be the reason why you go for that. So compare the capital expenses and the operational expenses, right? This is actually a very, very typical, I mean, topical conversation to when you talk about, should I go for on-premises or should I go for the cloud? The upfront spending of money on physical infrastructure in terms of capital expenditure in the on premises on the private cloud means that there's going to be depreciation over time, right? So things keep coming down as they're being used, right? I mean, in terms of their life cycle, right? So cost from capital expenses have value that reduces over time due to depletion or the depreciation, as the case may be. But for operational expenses, which is obtainable in the cloud infrastructure arrangement, you only spend on products and services as you need them on the pay-go service, on a pay-as-you-go, kind of thing. And because of that, right, you just get billed just for what you use, and it's immediate. You just leave it and then you move on, right? So because of these differences that we've seen, that's what would bring us to what is called the consumption model. Consumption model is, consumption-based model. Cloud service provider operates on consumption-based model, which means that end users only pay for the resources they use, whatever they use it, or whatever they use it is what they pay for, like for the duration that you use it. And because of that, you can really predict your cost and then make your budget. So because nothing is going to be like unforeseen. All of those are covered within the service level agreement. So unlike your physical infrastructure that you can start it up today and tomorrow it refuses to come up, right? And then because of that, you can know that an hour is costing me $0.77 to run this VM. So what it means is that if I'm going to run it for 10 hours, you already know what is there. And the good thing is that you can even automate the shutdown so that you don't forget and then it run an extra cost for you. So it's really very easy to predict how much you are going to spend when you are using the cloud services, unlike the on-premises environment that come with its own unforeseen circumstances. So the price for individual resources and services are well spelled out, so you know what you are going for. And billing is based only on actual usage, to be very honest. So these are the summary of what I want us to just take note of in terms of private, the public, the hybrid definition of cloud, the consumption-based model, which was covered in our introduction. So by now we know what cloud computing is, which is delivering of cloud services over the internet. And then the shared responsibility model tells you what you are to take care of as a customer and what the CSP, which is the cloud service provider, needs to take care of. Then the cloud model include public, which is what CSP provide for multiple organizations to have access to. Private is a data center built by an organization that is only accessible by the organization itself, which is having like a boundary from the outside space. While hybrid is the public cloud plus the private cloud or the private deployment model. Then the identify appropriate use cases for each of them. Of course, you see if there is you need to build lots a network within your organization. You go for public, for private. For public is when you go to seek that same service over a CSP provider. For hybrid is when you want to segment your data, put some in the cloud and have some in your own data center as an organization. Then consumption-based model is what the public cloud drives on, right? Because it's you only have to pay for what exactly you use, and then because of that, you can really predict what you are going to spend at the end of the day. And then the cloud pricing model, of course, everything is specifically based on the price, so you don't need to panic about the usage so long you have access to the internet. So I really want to keep it at this because I see I've spent like half of the time allotted for the program. So thank you very much. I'll be passing the mic over to Mike and Ami.
Very good, Joseph. Great analogy there with the bank and the cloud and using the paint. Actually, very good. To
Thank you.
yeah, very good. So, Amy, do you want to share your screen with us? You're on mute there, Amy.
Yeah, thank you for that. I would like to show two short tips. Let me share. And these features might not be in your tenant yet, but probably will be very soon. So, first, do you see my screen?
Yeah, you see it there.
Okay, so for people that don't recognize this is actually the new uh, homepage of Microsoft 365. It's now called M365 Copilot, and actually you have the search where you can search for files and also applications like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. You have the chat, which is hasn't changed, and then you have the agents, and you also have a notebook and create, which actually you can create images and all kinds of things. But the focus of what I wanted to show you is here you see all kinds of agents. Some are created by Microsoft, and others I created by myself. For instance, this customer care assistant. But if I create a new agent, and the purpose of these agents are more like personal agents that you can create them, but and maybe share it. But the purpose is not to create an agent here and share it with the whole organization because it's a bit limited, but it gives sometimes possibilities that you can use it for your personal use. Here you see all kinds of templates that exist, quiz, all kinds of things here. Um, and you can actually type and say what you want the agent to be. If you're familiar with it, then actually you can just give a name to the agent. So I could call it IT help desk, and I could put a description and instructions. If I use the wizard, it automatically creates it. So I'll just create it again, and I'll say here, uh, I need IT help desk agent, and it would actually guide me with questions, but automatically add instructions and other things. But the actual end, it even creates some ready-made prompts. Um, so as you can see, it also provided instructions. The focus I wanted to do is actually this knowledge area, because up until now you could either put just a URL of from the internet, or or um, or to a SharePoint location. You could see it from here. So through here, I could go and navigate either from one of the SharePoint sites, and I could choose a folder or a document. But now, as you can see in the description, you can also decide on all of the team resources and even your mails. So once even I click here, then I can choose a specific file I want. So if I'm looking for a file called demo, and this is this Excel, I can choose it, and it would add it. Um, if I was looking for something else, I could filter by the type of, you see, if it's a file, and if it's a file, I can choose maybe only PDFs or PowerPoint. So I can limit the choice based on the filter and based on the category. So if it's a file, if it's a site, if it's a chat. Now, so here in the first option, when I went through the cloud, I needed to know exactly where it is. Here I can just type, and it will take me anywhere where it is. But if I scroll down, you notice these four new possibilities. So I can say it can be open to all of the websites in comparison than just putting a specific URL of a site. What else? It's possible now to take any of my SharePoint files and folders and sites that belong to me or that I have access. So this is something new. And here we also have all of the resources that I belong through the Teams uh, chats And meetings, if I click here and click on the information, it says includes meeting chats, channels, and group chats. And the last possibility is that I can say I want only my emails that will be the resource for this thing. So I can create it. So these functionalities are now new or will be new. And as I said, you can either uh, type and search and filter by. You can also choose these possibilities, and you can go the previous way where you could choose the site, choose the folder or library, and choose the file. And you could always type in also the URL that you want. So this is in Copilot Studio Builder. That's the agent that we create directly from this. Uh, well, it was the chat, but now it's the new Office 365. The second new thing I found is for the SharePoint Studio, which is meant mostly for agents that are more advanced organization ones where you can connect to um, all kinds of knowledge bases which might be even external like a CRM or something, and you can add also actions and ways that you want the agent to work, and you can also publish it. As you can see here, this agent is possible to publish to this Teams and Microsoft Copilot. Uh, Microsoft Copilot is what's the chat, and the Teams is you could put it as an app in the Teams. But this functionality to SharePoint is new, and I would like actually to show you how it is. So what I will do is because we you can create an agent directly in SharePoint by clicking some files, and then it will create it. But this agent that you create through SharePoint is limited with all of the functionalities. And if you want to use the Copilot Studio, it gives you the robust functionalities that you have. So for this demo, I will just create a new agent. And what I'll do is I'll just say I need to make an HR onboarding uh, agent. Okay. So it will ask me all kinds of questions. I can decide about the default language. Let's call it onboarding buddy. And I will skip the rest. What I will do, it's asking what kind of things should the agent provide. So I'll just copy this and paste it, and I will go to the way that actually I can put the resources. So I'll go here. You see it's created it with descriptions and suggested prompts. In the knowledge, I will, for this case, I will keep it empty, but I can also refer, let's say, to a SharePoint site, and let's say I'll refer it to this IT help desk. Even though if we're talking about HR, I'll just keep it for the make it easy for this example. I'll click create, and this time I want to publish it to the SharePoint site. So what I need to do is actually go to this channel tab, and I will click on, first of all, I might test it to see that everything's working as, as seen. For some, it may not be available, but I'll now click on this SharePoint, and then here I can define actually which SharePoint site I can add. As you can see, the status is undeployed. But if I click on deploy, what it will do, it will take the SharePoint agent and deploy it on the SharePoint site. So I'll click on deploy, and what it will do, it successfully deployed it. Now, if the easiest way to do is that I just click on the three dots, copy the site URL, or open it in the SharePoint site. So what it's doing now, it's opened the agent in the SharePoint. You notice that we get this customized in Copilot Studio. That means that actually if you want to edit it and you're in the SharePoint, you cannot do it. You need to do it from the Copilot Studio. But you can also test here the agent. One thing that you can do here, if you're uh, happy with it, you can set as approved, because before you set it as approved, then only you can do it, see it. But once you set it as approved, it will also be available to the organization. You will notice the agent has been added as a file in the document library. And if I go here to this icon, I should see this onboarding buddy, as you can see. And if I click on it, I can, again, I get the message that it's customized by the Copilot Studio. I can, if I approve it, everyone can see it. And you will notice that this agent file will move from this document library location. It should be moved to the site asset library once it's approved. So it will not be harmed. So if I go to site content and site assets, I should see here under Copilot the approved agents. As you can see, the onboarding body and so what we did now is, as I said, if you create just an agent within SharePoint, it gives you a very limited functionality. As you can see, I can mark and create, and then I can use it. But if I do now with the functionality through the Copilot Studio to publish it to a SharePoint site, then we can use the full functionality. One additional thing here is that I can also undeploy, and it will actually remove it from the site, or it's like unpublish or something like that. So this is what I wanted to show you, and thank you so much for listening, and hopefully you learned something new. So back to you, Frank, and
Okay, Amy, some great stuff there again this week. We have somebody on the chat with us there. You can see it on the screen there. Thomas Slav said
nice and
nice.
easy deployment of agent to SharePoint. Yeah, I can tell you that deploying to Teams into um, Copilot chat sometimes is more complicated, okay? Because sometimes you need to send it to approval of the admin, and sometimes uh, you need to go to the admin center of Teams and say to whom it's available, and also in an app. I don't remember the other place. What I noticed is that I cannot, when I publish to SharePoint, I cannot define the permissions who will see it. So I guess the permissions are based on the access to the SharePoint site itself.
Yeah,
So
oh,
once
yeah.
people, if you have access to the site, you will also have access to the agent, and it makes sense, okay? Because usually, if you don't want the whole organization to see it, then you can specify specific people or groups that will have access to this agent. So thank you for the comment, and yeah, test it out.
Very good. And I'd say, Amy, as well as having people access to your SharePoint site, like if you have the agent in there, if everybody had access to it and they'd be using it, the cost would go astronomical, like, because you're going to be charged for every message that's sent to it.
I think people that don't have that have access to the site but don't have the license, they won't see the agent, or maybe they'll see the agent but they won't be able to activate it. The
Okay.
only way I think they can use it if they have a pay-as-you-go uh, program. If they don't have it, they won't be able to see the agent or consumption.
Okay.
So I think it's not automatically that if you don't have a license, then you're charged. Only if you set up the pay-as-you-go in a tenant, then people will that don't have a license will have the possibility. But that's the whole cost issue in Microsoft and licensing is sometimes overwhelming, and
It's really
you need
confusing. That's really
you need a
confusing, honestly.
doctorate to know, because even in Studio, I know you can have the Copilot Studio, and then you can have the $200, which is for 25,000, and you can also have pay as you go. So and it's changing all the time. But thank you,
For
and
sure. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, Ami. That was a great one, Ami. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
thank you
So,
for I learned from you, Joseph.
yeah, so I'm just going to share my screen there. Just have one or two things to do about agents. Share my screen, entire screen. And so I just have a Word document open here, right? And I'm already after putting in some prompts, stuff that I'm going to just ask Copilot to. This is a M365 Office with Copilot inside in it. And I'm just going to hit the Copilot here on the right. And I'm going to ask it to, well, we can actually click on it up here as well. Paste in our prompt. So write an article about Copilot Studio and Copilot agents. Okay. And just after that, then it's coming up, then it's offering me some other stuff focusing on their use in creative industries. Okay, so we'll use that as well. And we'll give it a second. And then it's coming up with other stuff. Highlight their benefits, enhance productivity and innovation, and include examples of popular agents. So it's really kind of preempting what I was going to ask it earlier. So we'll just go tab again, give it a couple of seconds. It's coming up, then write an article about Copilot Studios and the agents, focusing on their use and creativity. It more or less is repeating itself there, so we won't go with that. We'll just carry on and generate. So it's generating a document there on Copilot Studio and AI agents, revolutionizing creative industries. Okay, so understanding Copilot Studio. So we're not going to read through all the article now because this is only just kind of an overview. Some of the benefits: enhance productivity, driving innovation, and example of popular agents there. Okay, so Amy earlier gave us one or two other agents as well. So these are kind of different ones here. Um, So there's actually some that I never seen before. So this is actually a new one. Um,
I would like that it would give us the resource for where he's bringing the information, because it's in the chat. When you ask it, it gives you the resource, but in Word, it does not, and then you don't know based on what he brought the information. I think we
sure.
mentioned it before, but again,
Yeah. So I'll kind of say, where is this information coming from?
you could say add the resources for this. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go with that one.
I don't believe it will give you the information because it's collecting it from many places.
Okay. Okay, so it is collecting it from, is it not giving?
It's not giving you any, yeah, but
No.
I know if you would do the same thing in the chat, it would give you some links to sites or something. But so
Okay. So I'm just going to ask it something else. Can I give it a table format? Hit the enter button. So it kind of summarized
short,
that time.
yeah.
Yeah. So it's given us 3 pages
It
down
missed
there.
some
Yeah.
maybe, yeah.
So it keeps the first one that you asked, and then the second one that you requested for the source, and then the third one, which is the tabular form. That's how it does it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I do see in this one here, the Copilot Studio, right? Applications, code generation, and task automation. They actually, this is added into um, GitHub now, and it's inside in Excel as well. Um, so yeah, this one,
I don't like this example that he gave here. Look, for Copilot Studio, he gave code generation and task automation. So it could, yeah, it can maybe create the Python scripts, but it can also do other things. So that's it. Maybe the focus here is more for developers, but we can do agents that are like chatbots and other things. But it took to choose um, to make code generations. But
I,
yeah,
I didn't see this one before. Do you see a sound raw? We
never heard
may,
of it.
we will just pop into Copilot Studio and we'll get it to Emily. Okay, so we'll see, Amy, what it comes up with. Okay, great. SoundRaw agent is set up to help with project management, right? You can provide more details. Okay, so we will just copy
I
this.
would ask Copilot Chat what it is, and not as an agent, but as a but yeah.
Yeah, if I just go into create and we'll see if I give it a prompt sound raw, does it identify it?
So maybe you just want to ask the agent, "What are you? What can you do?" Right?
Yeah, so it's given it the name already here. Do you see it?
Yeah, you can see that sound draw.
Sound raw helps users with
The
project
question
management.
is if this sound draw has any connection to project management.
The name is looking like auto generator.
Yeah, it's
I think there's no connection, or maybe I don't know. We're guessing. Yeah.
so yeah. So if we just we want okay, so it's giving us all the different prompts below.
It's part of
Project
project.
tips, team collaboration.
I think it's just project management inclined from what we can see.
So if we just publish this and we'll see what prompts is there and we can ask it. Okay, so it's after publishing the agent. So if we go to test, given us,
But you didn't define any knowledge, so how does it know where to go?
yeah, I clicked
And
on the,
unless you marked that it's
To use the
open
web, right?
yeah,
to the internet.
I used the web that time. Clicked it on there, see it. I enabled.
Website. Look at it down below.
Yes.
I think you did not
Oh yeah,
enable it.
okay,
Yes, yeah.
yeah. I clicked the top one. Sorry about that. So if we go to test and publish, it'll just pull stuff in from the internet.
I have a
So
question to you. Maybe any of you know. When you create an agent, then you need to provide a name and instructions. What's the best way to provide instructions? Would you go to ChatGPT and say, uh, "Provide me instructions for an agent that will do such and such," or would you do it manually? Just say, so you see, this generates automatically general instructions. But assuming you want to build from scratch an agent and you want to provide a name, a description, and general instructions, what would be the best or the easiest way? Yeah, I mean,
I would normally just put in the name and see what it comes back with, and then I would expand on it.
yeah. But, if you need something very specific, then because maybe some things are generic and can be used for everything, like respond in a nice manner or stuff. But if you need the agent to do things that which are more specific for the purpose of the agent, then either you need to write it or maybe you can ask, like asking,
So
what's the best prompt for yeah.
I think even on adoption, Microsoft Copilot adoption, there is a PowerPoint there that actually deals a lot with that. I think it's about 28 slides, right? That you can use to get those prompts for agents.
One
User
here.
onboarding template. Let me see. Just prompt those. No, not that one. So can you scroll up a bit? Co-pilots, the full kit in English. So there's a
Yeah,
co-pilot or
there's
I
tons
forgot.
of information there, but I think if you want prompt
I think it's this one.
on
Frank, do you want to come to this right hand side? I think it's no the one by the right hand side. Maybe this one, right? There is
This
a
one.
place where yeah, check there. I'll just quickly check from my end. If I see it on time, I can just bring it up. Oh, I lost my browser. No, not that one. Just hold on. Let me see if I'm able to get it. Mm,
I mean, yeah, that
adoption.
you could do it by the chat, but
Yeah, but this
if you want,
scenarios,
yeah,
there's
let's say
scenarios
you
as well.
want it, yeah, let's say you want to that the format of the answer will be in such a specific way, so you can, if
Yeah, see the
there's a
scenarios there, they have a good example of scenarios, so it could nearly give you the prompts, for so we'd say maybe the HR one, which is more generic, the scenario.
Okay, I think it. Just trying to see from here. Everything keeps changing here. Honestly, what you saw yesterday, you come back today, you're going to see another thing entirely.
yeah, but this is
So,
a one pager, yeah. It shows the scenarios a day in something, but it
So there's a
and
there
it's
is a. I think I've seen it. I've seen it. Let me share my screen.
okay.
yeah.
Slideshow,
It's
screen share.
I'm talking about for more professional scenarios
Yeah,
where you want the agent that does specific things and not take the
yeah. I think maybe this is going to help. Let me see. I know I have the file, but just in case, agents and AI charts handouts. Agent overview guide. Let me see. Yeah, that should be downloaded something for me. Yeah, that's it. Is that it? Let me see.
Yeah, we have some lot of comments in the chat. I'll just show one on the screen while
Not
you're
that
loading that.
one. Let me see. Agent overview guide. Yeah, this is the file. Yeah, I've downloaded it before. Let me just bring it up. It's coming up.
are we
So,
streaming also?
have you seen this before?
I see a black screen. I don't see what you're sharing unless Frank sees
Oh,
something.
No,
Frank, can't you see my screen yet?
no, it's just a black screen. Did you add it?
Oh, okay. So
No.
let me stop sharing and share again.
Yeah.
Sharing again.
Okay, give it 2 seconds. Yeah, we can
Now
see it.
it's better. Yeah.
Okay, so I was asking if you've seen this presentation before, this
The,
PowerPoint deck.
I see here all kinds of scenarios. Yes, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a
My
place where I
question.
see there's a
Yeah.
place where I see instruction for all of it, like this one.
It's yeah, but I'm asking in general. You need
Oh,
to
okay.
create an agent. You need to create instructions, but and not one of those that are here. What?
Oh,
But
okay. All right.
we
Because
can check it in we maybe we the best answer is just to take it from a different instructions and adjust it that way.
yeah, because
Yeah,
like the example you did for the onboarding buddy, I see what that example here. So this is saying onboarding buddy agent is dedicated to ensuring new hires have seamless and welcoming starts. So when you come in to create it, the naming, the steps that it follows, the naming will say you give it onboarding buddy to emphasize or to avoid. This is the instruction. So you say please be clear and concise and avoid long answers where possible. Refer primarily to the
Okay,
knowledge
but
shared with you.
I'm asking if you don't have this presentation and you want to create an agent and you want to write proper instructions. I'm asking if maybe
Yeah.
there's no thing and you need to.
Mm.
It might be a whole theory, how to
Mhm.
write, or it's a profession how to write good instructions, how to write a good naming, and how to let the AI understand exactly what you want. To take
So
a
I,
specific example, you can do that, or maybe the way is to take something that exists and just adjust it. But
hmm.
yeah,
yeah. I
So
think
what I
you have,
what I would suggest in that case is perhaps people should take the time to understand the way these instructions are written, just so it can also guide you when you want to customize yours, right?
yeah,
yeah.
okay,
So, like, an example, I had one there a couple of weeks ago, Amy, that I kind of built a weather agent. It's pretty simple. It just had the internet clicked on. That's the knowledge source, and I asked it what was the weather in Dublin tomorrow going to be like, and it gave me back the temperature in Fahrenheit, which, like, in Europe we don't use Fahrenheit or all that's in America. We use Celsius, you know. So I
yeah.
said, "Well, can
So
you
did
give me
you
the
adjust the instructions? Did
yeah?"
you
So I
adjust
just
the instruction?
well, I didn't. I just told the AI, "Can you give me the temperature in Celsius?" And when I shut down the agent, then and I came back the next day to it, I went in and I said, "What's the weather like in Cork?" And it gave it back to me in Celsius, so it remembered, you know, the instructions.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not supposed to remember. I think unless
Well, there's these extensions now, right? That you can add your mod.
maybe it's saved for 30 days. Maybe it's saved for 30 days,
Yeah, there's
but yeah.
there there's
So just to ask, Frank, apologies, I'm taking words from you. I mean, have you checked to see that the agents are available as objects in Entra?
Which agents?
So the agents that we are creating, right? Because I think I read in a blog that they will be available in Microsoft Entra for management. Have you checked to
Oh,
see if they are there?
I but I think we have all kinds of agents. We have the Copilot Studio Builder. We have the
Mhm.
Copilot Studio. We have the SharePoint agents. Um, but for some we might see, and for some not. I think for the Copilot Studio, yes, maybe the agent builder not, but maybe it's for a different time because I also need to leave. But
yeah, yeah.
appreciate
Well, a good session this week. We went way over time, and thanks, Amy, again for all that new stuff and the SharePoint
Yeah,
stuff.
I mean, thank you very
yeah.
Your
much.
Thank you.
Thanks a
your
Yeah.
lot.
See
session
you
was
next
great.
week.
Yeah, see you
Yeah,
next week, Amy.
thank you.
And
Thank you.
Joseph,
Thank you,
Yeah.
everyone.
you'll continue with your MS 900 the next
Yeah,
time
sure.
you have time to join us.
Yeah.
Thanks again, guys. See you next week for the Azure and AI show.
All right. Bye bye, everyone.